Hello everyone, it's Sandra Fleming, the Queen Fairy, coming to you. I hope everybody's doing okay. How's everybody doing out there? I know we're on the quarantine, we stuck in the houses, in our apartments, in our homes, what have you, and everybody's starting to get cabin fever. But keep the faith and hold on. If you can get outside, then get outside and walk through the neighborhood or play in the backyard with the kids. There's things that you can do during this time. But one thing I tell you to not do not panic. Do not become obsessive with the news. We're in this together and we all will get through it. It is Sandra Fleming, the Queen Fairy, and welcome to Storytime with the Queen Fairy. Today's book is I'm Trey Jones and I Know It by Monica Mathis Stowe. I'm Trey Jones and I know it. Let's get started. Let's see, I might need my glasses, so I'm going to put these on, all right? Hold on. I got my glasses on. Yes. Today was the first day of school for Trey Jones. When he stepped off the school bus, children, big and small, were everywhere. Trey couldn't wait to meet his teacher and make new friends. When Trey entered his classroom, his teacher, Mrs. Perkins, gave everyone a name tag. One girl cried and said it ruined her brand new polka dot dress. Oh my! Trey thought she was a real drama queen, just like his big sister. So far, Trey liked first grade. He was assigned a desk in front of the room that allowed him to see everything. Some of the other kids weren't so lucky. They couldn't see too good because they got stuck behind the big kid. They had to turn their heads and twist their necks to see. Turn their heads and twist their neck to see. Have any of you all had to do that? Fret not. Welcome to first grade, Mrs. Perkins said with a bright smile. When I call your name, please come to the front of the room and introduce yourself. Do you know what introducing means? It means just to tell the people a little bit about yourself. The big kid raised his hand and asked, how do we do that? Well, when you introduce yourself, you tell a little something about you so people can get to know you better, Mrs. Perkins explained. Trey listened to his classmates introduce themselves. A lot of kids got to go before him, and he wasn't happy. It was pretty boring and taking forever. Trey thought the other kids just had no imagination. He couldn't wait for his turn. He knew exactly what he was going to do. Trey Jones, you're next, Mrs. Perkins said. Wow, Trey thought. His name is almost the same as mine. It would be Trey's job to find out everything about his almost named twin. Who could he be? Does he look like me? Were we separated at birth? With big wide eyes, Trey turned and looked around the room, eager to see him. Trey knew they were going to be best friends. When Troy didn't answer, Mrs. Perkins rushed around the classroom, looking for him. Everyone watched her go up and down the aisles, up and down the aisles. Maybe Troy is shy, Trey thought. Since Trey wasn't, he figured he could help Troy with that little problem. Trey's mommy always said he made friends wherever he went. And when there was no one to play with, Trey used his imagination and created new friends. After going around the room twice, Mrs. Perkins stopped in front of Trey's desk with a funny look on her face. Trey thought she was dizzy from walking around in circles. She put her hands on her hips and said, "Troy, why didn't you answer me?" Trey gave her a funny look right back, then crossed his arms and said, "My name is not Troy." She put on the glasses dangling from a string around her neck. Just like me, I had to put on my glasses to see a little better. And then stared at Trey's shirt. He pushed his name tag up real close to her eyes to make sure she could see his name. Even with her glasses on, Trey still didn't think she could see too good. See Mrs. Perkins in her glasses? Mrs. Perkins smiled at Trey, so he smiled right back. "I'm sorry for calling you Troy, Trey. I wasn't wearing my glasses. Please go up and introduce yourself to the class." Woo-hoo! Finally, it was Trey's turn to shine. Every single eye was on him as he jumped off his seat and ran to the front of the room. Halfway there, his shoe got tangled in someone's backpack and he fell flat on his face. Splat! See, Trey? Fell flat on his face. All the kids laughed at Trey, but he didn't care. Mrs. Perkins tried to help him, but he didn't need her help. Trey picked himself up, brushed off his shoulders, and marched to the front of the classroom. Trey used Mrs. Perkins' chalk and wrote Trey Jones in big letters on the blackboard because he thought these kids should know how to spell his name too. After all, he was going to be famous one day. Yes, he was. Because he dreamed and he thought it and he was going to act on it. With his shoulders back and his chest stuck out, Trey spoke as loud as he could so the kids in the back could hear. "My name is Trey Jones, and I'm 6 years old. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6. Pancakes are my favorite food. Riding my bike is how I have fun. And I'm so smart. I know everything." "Great job, Trey. Great job, Troy. Trey," Mrs. Perkins smiled and said. She must have felt bad for calling Trey the wrong name again because she shook her head and frowned the same way his grandpa did when he forgot something. Wanting to make her feel better, Trey said, "It's It's okay if you forget my name sometimes, Mrs. Perkins. My grandpa does it all the time. Sometimes he calls me Mr. Pickles or Sam Sausage Head. I'm used to it because he's old, just like you and you and you. Mrs. Perkins' face turned red as the apple sitting on her desk. She probably couldn't believe he said that. See? Trey grabbed Mrs. Perkins' long wooden pointer off her desk and placed the tip on the first letter of his name. I'm named after every member in my family. The T in Trey comes from my daddy, Timothy. He's a firefighter. That's the best job in the world. He gets to slide down a pole and ride on a fire truck with loud sirens and bright, swirly lights. I love to visit his firehouse. My mommy's name is Regina. I get the R from her. She works on a computer and sits in meetings all day. Her office is in a tall building. I don't like to go there because you have to be quiet and it's so boring. See Trey's dad and mom? The E in Trey comes from a superhero big brother, Eric. He's strong and he plays football, basketball, baseball, soccer, and even runs track. Daddy calls him Champ because there isn't a sport he can't play. He has the medals and trophies in his room to prove it. The last letter in my name, Y, comes from my sister, Yolanda. I call her Yo-Yo because I couldn't say her name when I was a baby. Mommy calls her Motormouth because the phone is always glued to the side of her face. She likes to talk about clothes and boys. Yuck, yuck. When her cheerleader friends visit, they like to hug me and kiss my cheeks. Double yuck. My last name, Jones, comes from my daddy. He got it from his daddy, my grandpa. Then he got it from his daddy, my great-grandpa, and on and on. I think you get it. Do you? I have 2 pets, a black dog named Midnight and a cat we call Snowball. Midnight follows me everywhere and sleeps in the doggy bed on the floor in my room. Snowball likes to explore and play outside, but she always comes back home. Every night she curls up on the bottom of my bed, sniffs my feet, and falls asleep. My best friends are Chelsea and Andrew. We call ourselves the 3 amigos. Uno, dos, tres. 3. In case you didn't know, amigos mean friends in Spanish. Chelsea and Andrew are in the other first grade class down the hall. I was supposed to be in there too, but my parents didn't think my teacher could handle all 3 of us. Uno, dos, tres. 3. Okay, it's time to let someone else do their introductions, Trey, Mrs. Perkins said. Trey looked at Mrs. Perkins, shook his head and said, Mrs. Perkins, my mommy said it's rude to interrupt someone when they are not finished talking. Uh-oh. She gave Trey the same look his mommy gave him just before she said, keep it up, Trey. And I see a timeout in your future. Keep it up, okay? Buddy, Trey decided to finish like Mrs. Perkins said. He didn't want her to call his parents. That would mean big trouble for him. See the three amigos? Trey and Mrs. Perkins? So Trey flexed his muscles, flexed his muscles like his big brother after he won a game, and said as loud as he could, "I'm Trey Jones, and I know it." Everybody except Mrs. Perkins clapped for Trey. It made him feel very special. I know who I am. What about you? What's your name? And how do you know it? Do you know who you are? If you don't, go and research who you are. Again, this book is called I'm Trey Jones and I Know It by Monica Mathis Stone. I hope that you've enjoyed this book. I enjoyed reading it to you. It was very exciting and special. So, remember who you are and your name. Take time to introduce yourself to others and let them know who you are. See you next Sunday. Be good and remember, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can enjoy Storytime with the Queen Fairy. See you soon. Adios.